I want to ask a question, actually, and I think you make a great point. And this is to Amy, if she's still there, from MTV's Hollywood Crush. Amy, you do a lot of covering of Hunger Games, but also, or at least your site, right, covers Jersey Shore and a lot of Dancing with the Stars and these kinds of programs. Am I correct about that?
I would not say that Hollywood Crush specifically does, but I would say MTV News as an entity would cover reality shows, yes.
Right, and obviously Jersey Shore is on MTV. And by the way, I'm a big fan, or at least I don't miss an episode if I can help it.
Easter time.
I hope my stock hasn't gone down. But Sarah mentions in her article, in her essay, you talk about you in some ways you criticize us as a country that's too busy watching, and you mentioned Jersey Shore as an example, instead of worrying about the problems of civil liberties. But I have to be honest with you, when I read that statement, I actually feel personally it's very important for us also to enjoy our lives, that we can't spend every single second of our life saying, oh, there's no room for, fun and childish behavior and just enjoying a show like that. I mean, Jersey Shore, sure, it may not be the highest quality programming in terms of intellectualism, but it's entertaining, and it's not exactly, causing oppression around the world, if you see what I mean. So I was wondering if maybe Amy could take her side on Jersey Shore, and then Sarah could express her view on that. So maybe, Amy, if you want to go first.
Well, I don't know how much I can necessarily defend the Jersey Shore, but I think something that's interesting that may get lost in the shuffle is that before Jersey Shore started airing, I feel like there was sort of this community that people really actually didn't know a whole lot about. I mean, if you're from the East Coast, you sort of know about this whole Jersey Shore mentality. But I'm actually a native of the Pacific Northwest, so having just moved to New York City within the last 3 or 4 years, I wasn't necessarily very aware of this culture. And you can say what you like about this culture, whether you think it's good, bad, or you're indifferent, but I think even at its base, reality television opens us to people and perspectives and cultures that we may not have been familiar with before. So, I don't know if I would necessarily say that the Jersey Shore always represents the best of humanity. That's a value judgment, but I think that there can be things taken from it. And like you said, there's always sort of the guilty pleasure aspect where, an hour of escapism a day is not the worst thing.
Right. It'd be better if Katniss and PETA could watch Jersey Shore once in a while instead of worrying about how hungry they are. Right? I mean,
exactly. They might forget that they're hungry if they could sit and watch TV for an hour.
I'd rather they watch like Monty Python or something, but
I mean, there wasn't a lot of gym tan and laundry going on in District 12, I think.
Maybe down in District 4.
Well, there might have been, yeah, for sure.
No, I mean, seriously, I am in no way saying that it should be all politics all the time. Believe me, I have my guilty pleasures, plenty of them. But I do think that there's a difference between having your guilty pleasures and turning off to what's going on in the outside world because because you'd rather focus on what's going on TV. And I think, unfortunately, right now we've got coming up in the next month or two, there's going to be another huge vote on the Patriot Act, and I just wonder how many people in the United States even realize that.
Right, they probably don't, just like, yeah, go ahead, whoever was going to speak, step in.
Oh, no, it was Amy. I was just going to say, I don't know if television in of itself is like the one thing that you could blame for people not being aware. I think there's just sort of, it's sad to say, but I feel like there's sort of a malaise in our society where maybe if I don't pay attention to all the bad things that are happening, then maybe they're not actually going on,
Yeah, well, right. Yeah. But then you're basically it's like you're giving up your freedom for bread and circus,
Mm-hmm.
which is exactly what they talk about in the book, and what Juvenal wrote about, which is what Suzanne Collins, based, the whole Panem and Circenses, so I guess that's, and
it is admirable how much, it was just evident reading your essay that your heart just bleeds to do the right thing all the time, despite every injustice. So I think...
And believe me, it's exhausting. I tell you, this book that I'm trying to write now, my book that's coming out in August, it was very difficult to write. It's about a girl who gets involved with an internet predator, and I, researched with the FBI, and, I was having nightmares while I was writing it, so I was like, okay, I'm going to write this really funny book next. It's going to be totally funny, and it's about this group of kids who go to a anime convention, and it's going to be, a laugh a minute. And, ultimately, something not funny creeped into it, and I'm like, why? Why can't I just write a really funny book, But I guess that's me, there's always something that I have to write about that's not funny. But it will definitely be funnier than the Internet Predator book.
One thing that stood out to me that you said a second ago, and this is why I want to bring in Ariel again here. Ariel, you're still there, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, now Ariel has some interest, I think, in what you said about librarians, because outside of that Noah Wiley series that was on TNT, The Librarian, I think was on a few years ago, people may have not realized what heroic people these librarians are. And as we mentioned earlier in the show, Ariel's Wizard rock band is actually called Madam Pince and the Librarians. And Ariel's also studying something about library science. So, Ariel, what do you have to say for the librarians in relation to what Sarah is saying?
Well, I have to say, being that I've been aspiring to be a librarian for the past 4 years now, and in the middle of all this stuff called finals, this is really nice to hear. Just to remind myself why I want to be a librarian, not only to inspire children about to have a love of reading, but also their fierce defense of freedom of speech and their stance against the Patriot Act, and just how brilliant that is, and it makes me very proud that to be that I'm hopefully someday soon going to be a part of that group of people. So I totally back librarians, and I think it's great how much they fight.
The librarians rock my world. I tell you, they are, the American Library Association is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, defenders of intellectual freedom and, against censorship and, this group, the Connecticut Four, they were really, they took a stand, and it was a great personal cost to themselves, because they couldn't tell anyone that they were the John Does in the lawsuit. They could not speak about it to their families, or because they were under the gag order, and it was very brave of them. But they just really, they rock my world.
And,
mine too.
And literacy is so important. With the banning of books, right? That's always where it all starts with